Hi everybody, it's time to talk about Critters 2, The Main Course. This is a Mick Garris directed sequel that came out 2 years later after the first one, and it is about Scott Grimes' character from the first one, Bradley, coming back to Grover's Bend 2 years later to hang out with his grandma for Easter, and coincidentally, as soon as he gets back, these eggs that have just been sitting around for a couple of years decide to start hatching and wreak havoc on the town, and the bounty hunters come back with Charlie as a new bounty hunter to wipe them all out. So, let's talk about this movie. Alright, so this is on Roger Ebert's most hated films ever made list, supposedly. Now, I'm not a big fan of Mick Garris as a director. I just don't like anything I've seen from him. Like, especially Psycho 4 is my least favorite of the Psycho movies. Interestingly enough, the writer of this film went on to write and I think direct all the Vin Diesel Riddick movies, The Chronicles of Riddick, Pitch Black, and he also wrote The Fugitive with Harrison Ford. You switched to samples! So, what do I like about this movie? First up, I like that this is set on Easter because it makes it one of the few good Easter horror movies out there. Like, I could have put this on my recent top 10 horror holiday movies because it's Easter and it actually ties into the story somewhat. Like, these eggs are like the eggs of the critters, they actually get mixed up with the eggs of the Easter hunt and they start painting the critter eggs and then they start hatching and attacking everybody.
What the hell was in you?
I also like that this movie upped the ante when it came to how violent it is and how bloody it gets at times. It ups the blood from the first one. It's still PG-13. These are still PG-13, like family horror movies, kind of like a Gremlins, except this one's way edgier and it's more R-ish at times. It definitely has some things that you would not see in a PG-13 movie today. For instance, this movie has quite a few scenes with nudity in it. There's a bounty hunter who turns himself into a playboy, and we see the boobs come out, breaking through the clothing, and then she's just walking around naked from that point on, and then she like slips on a shirt after that, but then it just keeps showing that Playboy magazine here and there. So there's like tons of nudity for a PG-13 flick, but it's also bloody at times. I feel like this movie was probably trimmed down. There's just little moments where I feel like it got cut by the MPAA to secure that PG-13 rating. I feel like there's more here to be seen that we didn't get because there are some bloody moments for sure. And when the critters are first unleashed, they're immediately like eating holes into dogs and people, breaking through bar stools like that, just snapping bar stool legs like little twigs. They are a lot more powerful, it seems, in this one than the last one, and there's a lot more of them. So this is a sequel that, like most sequels, tries to up everything. It ups the volume of blood and critters and the violence, everything. So I like that it's just balls to the wall crazy, more crazy than the first one. It's a lot more entertaining. I liked that the bounty hunters in this one, this was something I had a little issue with in the first one, was the bounty hunters not really doing much. I like that in this one, they actually do way more. They're actually killing a lot of critters, whereas in the first one, they kill one critter. In this one, they're blasting them away left and right. They go to the diner, they start shooting them at the salad bar and shit, and then they start shooting them at the factory. They're just chasing them down the whole time. They mean business in this one. They ain't fucking around. And I like that the character Charlie became a bounty hunter. It gives this character a little bit of growth. He went from drunk, like town drunk alcoholic guy who's the UFO conspiracy guy. Like, they're coming. Nobody believed him, but now everybody believes him, or at least most people do. And now he's actually got a job. He's not just working under the table for some farmer. He's got a purpose in life now. And I like that. I like that he got a job and he's back on his feet. He's got a meaning. And I really like the sillier tone. The sillier tone might throw some people off and it might make people not like this one over the first one. It might be a little too much, one step over the line with its silliness, but it works for me. I was laughing quite a bit throughout this. You got the big ball critter that they just all get together and make one giant critter. They're just rolling down Main Street. They run over people and they eat them like to the bone in a second, just all their flesh taken off. And I like the cast continuity. We got a few returning people from the first one. You got Scott Grimes, who was the main boy in the first one, playing Bradley. He's back in town. And then you got a returning character, but not a returning actor. What was his name? Harv, the sheriff. He's back, but he's played by somebody else, and I recognize that guy, but I don't know his name. But you got Lynn Shaye back, and she serves even less of a purpose in this film. Like, she doesn't need to be in it at all. She's just kind of there because her brother is Robert Shaye, and he owns New Line Cinema. He's the executive producer, so it was like she has to be in here by contract or some shit. But it's nice to see Lynn Shaye. She's like horror alumni at this point. She did all those Insidious movies. So I don't really hate that she's in here. I just wish she would have had more of a role in this story. She's just relegated to one-liners. She'll pop up randomly and just say like one line, and then she's gone, and then she'll come back, and she's wearing the most ridiculous outfit. So I think that's about it for pros, besides nudity. I like that. Now the rest will just be negatives. First up, this isn't something that really hurts the film, but it's kind of a bummer, and that's the fact that Dee Wallace and the whole family from the first one didn't come back. It's just Brad. Like, who leaves their whole family on Easter to just go hang out with their grandma? Like, I would hang out with the family. The grandma can come visit the family for Easter. Why is it just Bradley coming to see the grandma? Is there some kind of beef between the grandma and her own daughter that they just don't see each other no more? It just seems odd that they even moved. Like, they got their whole house back at the end of one. It blew up, but then they got this miracle gift from the bounty hunters that brought it all back just for them to move, like, right away. Like, they just... What? And then even... It doesn't make sense that the sheriff just retired. I'm not sure what the hell that was for. Like, why did this sheriff from part one retire immediately after the events just to come back in this movie to be the sheriff again towards the end? It's just weird writing decisions and lots of little conveniences here and there that you kind of have to look past, like, oh, whatever. Like, major conveniences. Like, he shows into town, and then that's when the eggs hatch. And you also have to look past the fact that there was only, like, what, 5 eggs at the end of part one? And now there's 100+ fucking critters everywhere. Like, where did these things come from? It's not like there's, like, 5 critters per egg or some shit. There's 1. So, like, that doesn't add up at all. And the big ball critter, they don't do much with it. And I feel like it's probably because the MPAA cut some of the shit out. Maybe there was more there. This movie has a body count of 6. Granted, the first one only had 2, so this is triple. But I feel like we could have gotten more with that ball. A lot more. And the one kill we got was pretty cool with it. But still kind of a bummer that you set that up. You make this big-ass ball. You're like, oh my gosh, that thing could like roll through buildings. Maybe get more of a budget and really do some action-packed sequences in here in the third act. But the ball just simply rolls, kills one person, and then it's just gone. It blows up. It's whatever. Another thing I was just not buying into that I just felt was very poorly written and executed was the whole love interest between Bradley and Megan. This is no couple like Megan and Tommy in part 6 of Friday the 13th. This isn't as entertaining as that relationship. This is just awkward and weird. Like, he moves into town, and by the end of it, they're kissing each other, but their kiss gets interrupted like 3 times. And this chick is like 6 years older than this guy. I think the actor in this movie, Scott Grimes, was probably like, 14? Like, he's young, and he looks young. And this other actress was like 23 or 4, and she's playing like an 18-year-old or some shit, because she says she's like a senior in high school. I'm just not buying into their relationship at all. Like, they don't have any moments of good chemistry. There's no passion in their kiss either. There's no romance there. You don't care that they end up together. They don't have any, like, exchanges where you see that coming and they have, like, a growth in an arc to that point where they're in love. It's just kind of like, oh, yeah, you used to have braces. Okay, and then they're just too busy hunting down critters the entire movie while he's also being like in denial the whole time for some reason, which is another odd thing that I didn't really care for. It's like, you're the one guy who should be in town like oh shit, it's happening again, and warn everybody, tell them what they're dealing with because you've experienced it firsthand, but you're the denier in this situation. Just like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. There was no critters. Everybody in town seems to know about the events of part one, despite the fact that the only people that were attacked by critters is the main character we're following. His family is not even in town no more, so he's the only one in this town, besides the sheriff, who would know about it, but the sheriff isn't in town either. He's outside of town in a trailer living like a bum. And not to say that if you live in a trailer, you're a bum, but the way he's living in this trailer is teeth. He ain't taking care of himself. He's a bum, right? Not shitting on people who live in trailers. If that's your thing, whatever. But this guy, he's a fucking bum. But Brad, this guy, is his name Brad or Dave? Whatever. But Scott Grimes, he's the one denying shit. Like, he should be like the Loomis and be warning everybody and trying to help. But instead, throughout the first half-ish or more, he's like the denier. He's like, whatever, you guys are crazy. Whatever. It's like, people are dying. The guy just went through the fucking church window with holes in him. And I mean, come on. I just didn't like that character direction they took with him to be the denier character. It's almost like he was trying to convince himself that it wasn't real, while at the same time I think he believed it was, but it's just like not a good character direction for me. But outside of that, I really enjoyed the movie. It's very fun. They really up the screen time with these critters. They do a lot more. The critter effects by the Chiodo brothers are just as good as they were in the first one, if not maybe even slightly better. It's definitely a lot more goofy. The scale does tip way more into the comedy this time, but I enjoy that style. I enjoy that flavor of this movie. So if you're a fan of the first one and you're curious to check out the second to see where the story goes and what the critters will do this time, I think this is just as good as the first one, if not maybe even a little bit better, depending on your taste. So if you really like the first one, this is a sequel worth checking out, so go out and buy it. Alright, time for spoiler discussion, and this will be the last Critters review where I'm actually entertained, because I've already seen 3 and 4 and they're just very blah. But they both have very cool actors in them. You got Leonardo DiCaprio in 3, and you got Brad Dourif, Chucky himself, in part 4. So, yeah, those movies are unnecessary. We don't need 3 and 4. I'm surprised this became a franchise, because this movie did not make its money back. I think it made a couple million less than its budget. And yet they still made a 3 and 4. It's just crazy how some movies become franchises when they don't really deserve to be it, and then other movies we're like, where's the sequels? And they're just standalone films. You know, like The Burning. Where the fuck's the sequel to that? But we got 4 Critters. 2 was enough. 2 was plenty. So this movie opens up. It's 2 years later. We got Charlie as a bounty hunter. He's in space. And then they get this message from this alien who's like, oh, we just found out that there's these eggs on Earth. You gotta go back and destroy them if you want your bounty. How did it take them 2 years to figure out that, oh shit, you guys messed up in the last movie. You left some eggs on Earth. And it's like they have this information. They know about the critters' presence on Earth before they even hatch. Was there like some kind of futuristic technology scan that went over Earth and they detected the eggs? I don't know how they even knew that the eggs were there before they even hatched and wreaked havoc. No one called them, so I'm guessing there's some kind of explanation there that you kind of have to make up on your own. So then Brad, he arrives back in town. Everybody seems to know, and I mean everyone. Like everyone he encounters in the movie is like, did you hear about that night a couple years ago? And it's like, yeah, he was the one. It's like, who ratted out the story? Like who spilled the beans and who like just could not shut the fuck up and keep that tightly sealed a secret and just let everybody know? Who's the gossiping bitch in the first movie that told everybody? Was it the sheriff? Is that why he got kicked out of town and was no longer a sheriff? They're like, you're crazy, you're not right for the job, you're mentally unstable, and they took his badge away? Maybe that's why. See, I have to come up with these things on my own. Because the writing is sure as hell not going to explain these things. So, yeah, like everyone knows. Everyone, every stupid person that Brad interacts with brings that story up to him. and he has to like pretend like it's all bullshit. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, we found out the family moved, which is a shame. They should have been in here, but I doubt Dee Wallace was going to come back for a sequel to a Critters movie. You're lucky she did the first one. So this guy is a very bad price negotiator. This guy would not be a good car salesman. He would get fired after the first month when he sold everything for $10. He's like, $10 per egg. And then this chick's like, I'll give you 20 for a whole basket of like 10 of them. And he's like, okay. It's like, that's not good price negotiations right there. So then for some reason he just has a heater next to the bag of eggs. Is the heater what makes them hatch? Maybe. I don't know. Like, why does he have a heater in April next to these eggs that he thinks are fake? He doesn't think there's actually anything in them. Why is he heating them up? And then the dog gets killed and the owner also. And this is like very gruesome for a PG-13 movie. Like, this dog is mutilated. All the critters are like eating its insides, and then they start attacking him. He gets on a bar stool. They break the bar stool legs off easily, and then just start attacking him, but then cuts away. It's off camera, so it's like, nah. This movie has a Halloween 4 moment where we see a picture that is impossible to exist. It's a still image from part 1 of Charlie using the slingshot with Brad next to him. None of them are looking at the camera. Who took that picture? It's impossible. So, like, why do they do that? Would it be that hard to take a picture of them? And then we get the scene that's actually kind of tense on the first viewing. You're like, oh my gosh, is this critter gonna kill the kid? Are we gonna go there? And then the dad just walks in and squishes it. But yeah, it just keeps like going for her hand, and she like lifts it up, then she puts her foot down. It's going for the foot, and then she puts her foot down, back up, and then the critter just gets squished. So fun little scene. And then we see the cop from Halloween 5, and he's a cop in this movie, although this came out in 88. So this is before Halloween 5. But it would have been funny if we just like inserted some Halloween 5 cop music. And then the bounty hunters, they land on Earth, and we get this transformation scene. Lee, Ugly. Lee, he looks at a Playboy, and when he turns into the woman, the staple of the Playboy is on his stomach that he has to like rip off, which I found kind of odd, because if that happened there, why didn't the glasses appear on his head when he transformed into the dweeb later on? Like, he goes from hot Playboy model, who in real life was not a Playboy model, to this nerdy Urkel, white Urkel looking guy, just the biggest dweeb ever. He kind of looked like Whitehurst in Child's Play 3. When he transforms into him, he copies everything except for his glasses, but yet earlier he was able to copy a staple from a magazine. That's just a little tiny little logic issue. It's not even worth pointing out, but I just fucking did. Sue me. So yeah, I love big boobies, and we get to see them for quite a few seconds. So then Brad, he bumps into this old girl that he used to know in high school, and they're still in high school. So he bumps into this girl. They drive out to this place to pick up these eggs, I guess, and then they open the door, and the dead body is just standing there to fall over. Cliche. Like, really? That's not possible. A dead body does not just stand up and wait for its cue to fall forward, although the body looked pretty gnarly for, again, a PG-13 movie. So, and then she's no longer topless. Like, where does she get her shirt? When she first becomes the Playboy, she's completely topless, walks off, and then the next scene, she's got this whole outfit on, which is a shame. It would have been awesome if she was just naked the whole time, but that didn't happen. And then we get this diner scene. The critters are at the diner. They're like in the salad bar. One of them like falls into the fryer later, gets fried. All his fur comes off. The Crite hunters come in. They start shooting at them. One of them blows like the hair off of one. Like the critter was wearing like a toupee or something. We even get like little subtitles, just like in the first one, where they're saying dumb little things like "bitchin" and "oh." Just little funny moments like that really just add to the movie, really add to the entertainment value. The critters are just fun in this movie. This is like the best critter scene in the whole movie. Not even the big ball compares to the diner scene. I really like that scene. All the things going on there. And so there's a pole that falls into the road because they're trying to, like, I guess they're smarter in this movie, actually. That's something I'm picking up on. They're actually strategic in this one. They cut out the communication. They're biting the telephone poles, the wires, and then they're knocking them down to like the one road in and out of town. But this guy in his Jeep could have just drove right around it if he wanted to. But he's like, oh, I guess I'm just fucked. And he just goes right back into town. And they all form like a lynch mob, like a literal lynch mob, pitchforks and torches, the whole works. And they're all hiding in the church throughout the second half of the movie. And so then Lee goes to transform once again into Freddy Krueger, which is owned by New Line Cinema, so that's why they're able to do that. But it's kind of a bummer that Charlie stops Lee from doing that. He's like, no. He gets the Playboy back out. I was like, no, go back to this, go back. Which I'm all for if she's topless again, but she's not. But it would have been nice to see like Robert Englund do a small cameo as the bounty hunter in Critters 2. Like in full makeup. That would have been amazing. Come on, don't lie to yourself. You would have liked that. But fucking Charlie, he ruined it. Ruined that great opportunity. Still a funny joke. So then this scene makes no fucking sense. So they're all in the church, but we got like these guards outside. There's this guy who's standing out front. He's got a shotgun, and he hears something at the bushes. He walks towards them, turns around, gets distracted by this girl on a tricycle who's at the entrance of the church, and he's like, go back inside, or I'll tell your father, and he'll beat your ass. And then he gets dragged below frame, off camera, gets killed. And she starts screaming, cuts away to like Brad doing something. He runs to investigate the noise. And we see the girl on the tricycle who was like 30 feet or like 30 yards maybe, like far away from the carnage, from all the critters. She's like 2 inches away from safety. But what does she do? She gets on her tricycle and pedals it towards the fucking guy who just got killed and past him, fleeing from the scene, like down, going towards town. That decision makes no sense, and I get that she's like 5, but no 5-year-old would make that dumb of a fucking decision. I have no idea what's going on there. Why did she do that? How did she get from there to where she could just be like, oh shit, walk back 2 inches, shut the door, you're safe. And then she went from that all the way down into the middle of the field past the dead body. And then Brad runs around towards the bush where the dead body is and somehow doesn't see it, and he just trips over it. I guess in universe it's darker than what we see because we as the audience get to have, all the studio lights light everything up so we can see what's going on in the movie. I get it. But I think he should have been able to see that dead body right there, and how he didn't see it makes no sense. Whatever. So yeah, that whole scene was just like, what? Okay, huh? Whatever. So then they're like setting up this trap at the factory. They're gonna like pour all these buns and hamburger meat everywhere for the critters to go, and they're eating these cows, multiple cows. In the first one, they eat 1 cow, and this one, they're eating a whole fucking farm of cows. I don't know why I get so upset when I see food get wasted. I don't know why. It bugs me. I don't like to see food go to waste, You won't find leftovers in my fridge. I eat it, all of it. It was kind of painful, to see them dumping all those hamburger buns and hamburger meat. I hope it was expired food that they got for the movie, or fake food. Maybe it was plastic and I couldn't tell. I hope so, because that's a waste of many burgers that they could have had. I love burgers, and it was just hurting me to see them waste all that food just for the little trap that doesn't even work. So I like how they lure them into the factory, this hamburger factory. They blow it up sky high, all kinds of TNT and dynamite, whatever. I heard there's a difference between TNT and dynamite, but whatever. Whichever it is, they blow them the fuck up with it. And then they just turn into the big ball. They escape the factory. They run over one person. They eat him till he's nothing but a skeleton. Cool. I wish it would have killed more. But then as they're rolling down the road, Charlie and his bounty hunter ship does a kamikaze dive into it and blows it up that way, and it successfully kills all the critters. What was the difference between the bounty hunter ship blowing up the critters and all that TNT and dynamite in the factory that blew them the fuck up? Like, that explosion wasn't good enough, but this one did the trick. I don't get that. Anyone got an explanation for that? They make you think Lee's dead, but is he? I think he is. Yeah, he's dead. All right. For some reason, I remember this movie like Lee faked his death, but then he came back at the end. But it was actually the other bounty hunter, which I like that little twist, if you can call it that, where Ugg transforms into a big critter, and you think it's just like the leader of the pack, but it's actually Ugg helping them with their plan to lure the critters into the food factory. So I like that. A little bit of smart writing there, a way to get them into that factory. But then we find out that Charlie did not kill himself in that little kamikaze dive. He ejector seated out of it in a parachute, and for some reason wasn't able to get back into town until the next morning. Like, this was like at night. It took him hours from wherever his parachute landed to get back into town. So just convenient writing there too, just to have that little moment of levity at the end, like, oh my gosh, he made it. It's like, he could have died. Like, that could have like been his moment, his sacrifice. But they take it away to bring him back inexplicably. Like, why would those bounty hunter ships even have ejector seats like that and parachutes? Come on. So then their kiss gets interrupted like 3 times. I counted 3 fucking times. These characters, Brad and Megan, their kiss is interrupted. And finally, when they do kiss, it's like kissing your grandmother. It's just like a little peck, like on the fucking cheek. Maybe they kissed on the lips, but it was just so quick and pathetic. There was no romance there. You could tell that they're just actors. Like, okay, we gotta do it. All right, there, can I get my check? Just nothing there. There's no chemistry. There's no romance. This isn't Romeo and Juliet. This is just fucking painful. And then that's the end of the movie. I forget if there was even a teaser at the end. I don't think there was. I think it ends with all of them dead, if I remember correctly. I watched it yesterday, so I think it's sealed shut. That's the end of it. But of course, we still got 3 and 4. Somehow there's more eggs out there. So yeah, the Funny Bone Award for funniest moment will go to the Playboy transformation scene with the whole staple on the stomach and the big boobs coming out, and the one-liner from her where she just constantly keeps yelling, "Kill Kreitz!" And the Clap Award for best scene in this movie will go to the diner scene with all the critters just having fun eating at the salad bar. One of them's just laying on top of the grill, cooking himself, not giving a shit. The other one falls in the fry later. One of them has a toupee. It's just hysterical, and it's the best scene in my opinion. And the Mr. Hat Award for best kill will be the guy who gets ran over by the big critter ball and gets all his flesh taken off. And the Mr. Twig Award for worst kill will go to the church guard, the lynch mob guy who got distracted by the little girl. And those are my thoughts on Critters 2. What did you think about this movie? Do you like it just as much as the first one, or do you like it even more? I like this one a little bit more than the first one when it comes to the entertainment value, but I think the writing's a little bit weaker, the acting's a little bit weaker, and I like the characters more in part 1, the whole family dynamic. I like, if you could put like the whole family thing in this movie with that acting in this one, much better. But this one's just way more fun, a lot more critters that I kind of prefer over part 1, just a little bit. But put your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you've seen, you can hit this like button, share it with all your friends, and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.